Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, presented by Prize Picks, the Raiders get screwed by the NFL yet again. I am a little bit frustrated after looking at the Raiders' schedule a little bit closer, how much more difficult it is than you might actually realize when you first see the schedule come out. And, I'm somebody where if I find something very interesting, I try to make a video about it. And if you find this show interesting and if you learned something from today, I hope that you do watch all the programs here and you hit that subscribe button. So coming up here on the program, I'm going to go through and I'm going to tell everybody why this Raiders schedule is actually a lot more difficult than what I initially realized, and I do. I think the NFL kind of screwed us here a little bit. Let's go to the very first reason why the Raiders are getting screwed, the net rest days of 2026. I did this video last year on the Raiders Report, and last year the Raiders had the most difficult net rest days with a minus 19. If you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, here's how Warren Sharp would define what is net rest edge. Net rest edge is a measure of the total days of extra rest a team is compared to their opponents over the course of the season. While it may seem insignificant, it's a factor that can't be ignored. Here's an example, because I am somebody where I need an example to actually understand what it is exactly. An example of rest edge. If the Chiefs have a full 7-day bye week ahead of their game versus the Raiders, and the Raiders play on Monday Night Football and are on a short week, the Chiefs have a rest edge of +8 days before their game against the Raiders. Conversely, the Raiders have a rest edge of -8 days. So again, that's really just an example. So when you see the Raiders' net rest edge this season, we have a -13.5 rest days for 2026. Last year, the Raiders were dead last with a -19 rest edge. So that's back-to-back seasons where the Silver and Black have been in the bottom 3 for rest edge. And I do think that maybe this is a little bit easier for us this season because we have more depth. But for teams that have struggled building depth, which has definitely been a major problem for this organization, the Silver and Black, over the past few years, like teams that have bad net rest edge, you better have a deep roster. So what I wanted to be able to show all of y'all is the teams that have the best and the teams that have the worst net rest days for 2026. The Chicago Bears, if you know Bears fans, say, hey, congratulations, you guys are at a +15. What I really try to look at, though, is where our AFC West opponents kind of line up in some of these. You see the Denver Broncos at +3. They actually have the best net rest edge out of all the teams in the AFC West. And then you'll also notice in this next picture, the Kansas City Chiefs at -1.5. But where I thought the Raiders, and don't get me wrong, the Raiders do have a bad one. But this is the largest net rest disadvantage. You can see the Chargers at -24, and it's literally like the most net rest disadvantage in the league for a very, very long time. So don't get me wrong. I look at the Raiders' schedule, but I actually think the most difficult schedule in the NFL, after taking a closer look at it, is actually the Los Angeles Chargers. So here's a really cool stat that I saw from Warren Sharp. And again, he's one of the best guys in the biz in terms of getting cool little information like this. Let's talk about net rest with teams that had greater than +7 days. This is last season. The Seahawks, the defending Super Bowl champs, won 14 games. The Rams won 12 games. The 49ers, 12 games. Lions, 9. Dolphins, 7. But, I mean, even if you were to look at that Dolphins roster, I don't think that they were nearly as close to being as good as what 7 wins look at. But let's talk about the teams that had a -7 days net rest in 2025. The Las Vegas Raiders, 3 wins. The Washington Commanders, who they had a massive drop-off from the season before where they made the NFC Championship game. And then you got the New Orleans Saints with 6 games. As you can see, it showed last season to make a significant impact. Obviously, I'm hoping this season it doesn't make a significant impact. Something that makes a significant impact in my life every single day. Shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. And you can get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup over on America's #1 fantasy sports app. You see that code on your screen? It's HMA. And if you want to be able to get that $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, you need to use code HMA. It's available in all 50 states. If anybody out there wants to follow me, wants to follow some of the chat sports guys, you know where you can find me. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. Did you watch some of the playoff games yesterday? If you watched some of the playoff games yesterday, I hope that you had a Prize Picks lineup in, because I know this. I definitely did. Since we're here to talk about the Raiders, though, I've been showing this often this week because I want fans to understand that you can go more or less already on season-long Raiders lineups for Prize Picks. Genty, Bowers, Mendoza's on there, Trey Tucker, Max Crosby's also there on defense. They will add more and more as we get closer and closer to the season, as it gets underway. And anytime I see any changes, I will do my best to let you know. But this is not a lineup that you can submit. You have to add another player from another team. I just wanted to show y'all, like, if you're looking at Trey Tucker, 600 receiving yards, and you're like, dude, give me the more on that. Go put your money where your mouth is. Go show everybody that you know ball. So what I had decided to do today is I'm going to put this link for all of y'all. It's going to be down in the comments and in the description of today's Raiders Report show. You can click on that link to make it easier on you to download the PrizePicks app. Just make sure that you use code HMA. That way PrizePicks knows that we're sending you there from the Raiders Report. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Let's keep it moving here on why. I think the NFL kind of gave us a little bit of one of these when it came to the schedule. Games after a bye. So a lot of the times when you look at a schedule, and I literally just did it in the video that I dropped yesterday based on a lot of like the Raiders games and opponents, and I even said it. Oh, I think the Raiders might struggle against the 49ers because the 49ers are coming off a bye. What I did not realize in that video that I recorded, the 49ers aren't the only team. The Raiders this season, which you can see up here in this graphic, we are tied for third, so third most difficult. Only the Eagles and only the Chargers play more games when that team comes off a bye. So there are 3 times this flipping year where the Raiders are playing a team that they had an extra week of rest before that bye week ends up going down. Again, these might not be major things, but I do think in a long football season where a lot of teams are a lot closer than what people realize, and anybody can beat anybody given week, if you get that slight advantage, it does. It absolutely positively helps you. So for the Raiders to be right there with 3 games this season, for a team that only had 3 wins, we need more advantages, not more disadvantages. Let's go to the next reason here why this NFL Raiders schedule is a lot more difficult than what I realized. Strength of schedule overall. I will personally say out of everything that you're going to see, this is probably like the least important one. And I say that because a lot of the time strength of schedule is built off of like how teams played last season. What I really respect from Warren is he doesn't necessarily do that. He does it like in a whole new way where he breaks down all these different numbers and analytics to then spit out what his strength of schedule is. But for the Raiders this upcoming year, again, this is just like red, tough game. Green, it's an easy game. There's a lot more red up on your screen. But for the Raiders and their strength of schedule, they come in with I believe it's the 19th easiest schedule in the NFL, 14th most difficult. So again, compared to everything else that I have talked about on today's show, that seems like the best thing. But when the best thing is still at a disadvantage, I think that light bulb goes off in your head a little bit and you're like, well, shit, yeah, that is difficult. Here's one that I literally just found, and as soon as I saw this, I was like, here's the cherry on top. This is why I absolutely have to make this video. The toughest defensive matchups. There are 32 teams in the National Football League. And the chart that you're going to see is sharp, kind of indicating what teams play the teams that have the easiest defenses and what teams play the most difficult defenses. So the Philadelphia Eagles this season, their schedule, based on Warren Sharp's numbers, say that they play the easiest schedule against teams' defenses. The Raiders, on the other hand, have the schedule with the most difficult matchups where they play the teams that have the best defenses. And that's important because you got a brand new head coach in Clint Kubiak. You got a brand new offensive staff. And when you have an offensive-minded head coach, you're hoping that offense can get it clicking. But then also in the same breath, you just drafted a quarterback, whether it's going to be Fernando Mendoza, whether it's going to be Kirk Cousins. This offense needs to get it going. I get every offense needs to get it going, but especially with like a Clint Kubiak run-first team, you need to be able to put some points up on the board. So once I saw that the Raiders, their opponents, have the best defenses combined out of all the other NFL teams, I'm like, man, oh man, this schedule is a lot more difficult than I originally realized when I broke down my Raiders record prediction. So let's talk about this tough 2026. You got the 14th most difficult schedule in the National Football League. Again, when you're still in the bottom half, that's not a good thing. Third worst net rest advantage with a minus 13.5. The Raiders last season had the most difficult net rest advantage with minus 19. Back-to-back years in that bottom three. The Raiders play three teams coming off a bye, third most in the National Football League. And now to add that little bit of a cherry on top, the Raiders are playing the toughest defensive schedule in the National Football League. So I want to know from all of y'all, because I don't blame people for changing answers. The same reason why I hope people don't blame me from time to time. The NFL changes all the time. My opinions are going to change once you get more information. It's what I think smart people, it's what businesses, it's what people should do, right? When you get more info, it's okay to change up your mind. So be real with me. After watching this video, how many games do you think the Raiders will win in 2026? Did it change your opinion? Because it did change mine. The first time I went through my Raiders record prediction, I was looking at it, I'm like, man, we might win 10 games. And I will admit, the video that you guys saw me put out with my record prediction was kind of tied in with some of the things that I already knew from this video today. But I want to know down below, how many games will the Raiders win in 2026? If you want to see my exact Raiders record prediction, here's the thumbnail. Here's the video that I put out. I will also put it for you guys down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. But I essentially go through game by game. I tell you whether I think the Raiders win, whether I think the Raiders lose. It's a pretty good thumbnail, though. Maybe we're going to the Super Bowl. I do hope that we play on Valentine's Day. So one more time before I hop on out of here today, let's run through the Raiders' schedule. It seems to be one of the bigger talking points around the National Football League right now, but it's also important to note the Raiders do kick off mandatory OTAs here on Monday, the 18th of May. I also have a video coming out for you guys tomorrow on some of the players to watch. I should be noted that video was recorded earlier in the week. Jonnu Laulu, did I pronounce it right? Laolu, that's it. Jonnu Laulu is going to be somebody that's going to have to probably be ranked higher on that video. I'm just going to tell you right now, but that's because we signed defensive tackle earlier this week. From week 5 all the way down to 8, like that gauntlet for me that's really going to determine where the Raiders go is kind of that like week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7. Chiefs, Patriots, Bills, Rams is a hell of a gauntlet. Then even like week 9, and you keep it moving. 49ers, Seahawks, Broncos, that's another really difficult stretch of games. You get that late bye, which now when you see how difficult this schedule goes, having that late bye, if the Raiders can stay healthy early on, that's going to be clutch. But that bye hopefully gets them rested for this back half of the schedule where you got, again, 3 AFC West games to round out your 2026 season. So if y'all made it this far in the video, I hope that you do hit that subscribe button if you feel like you learned something today. And I hope when people watch this program know, like, we can have fun all the time. I do live Madden watch parties. We chug beers on this program. But then there's also times where I make a video like this. And if you feel like you've learned something, if you feel like you enjoy this program, hey, tell your friends. Let's continue to grow this family. But if you're looking for free content every single day around the Raiders, hit that subscribe button.